Brother, correct me if I'm wrong, but does the air here feel different to you? It's been so long since we've been summoned. I just can't remember whether the mortal plane should feel so disgusting.
I feel it too, sister. It makes my skin crawl. And that's not all. Look around. Arched ceilings, stained glass windows, and up there on the wall. That mural, it's faded, but I'd recognize that cross anywhere.
A church? Our first summons in a quarter millennia, and it's inside a church? It's not even a well-kept one. It's falling apart, abandoned. Did the human that summoned us think they'd be safer if they summoned us here? Or do they think they're funny?
Why don't you ask them yourself? Down there at the foot of the stairs.
Oh, I almost didn't see you there. You certainly used enough incense, didn't you? I'm surprised you didn't faint from all the smoke. Other than that, though, not a bad attempt at summoning. Although, the location leaves a lot to be desired.
Please stand up and stop shaking. You clearly summoned us here, so don't act so surprised. Our ritual isn't one that you can perform by accident.
Exactly. The sigils, the incense, waiting for the first new moon of the year. Those incantations couldn't have been easy to pronounce. They weren't exactly written for the human tongue. And of course, there's the offering. Goat's blood is so difficult to clean. You wouldn't bother getting it if you thought nothing would happen, would you? That's better. Make sure to take the book with you. It's older than you can imagine, and valuable. I wonder, how did you get your hands on it?
My sister just asked you a question. Instead of answering, you demand our names. You're quite the forward one. Forward and rude. I prefer that you don't disrespect her so casually in my presence, unless you'd like me to remove your tongue.
Always so protective. I love you, brother. I do. But I'm sure they didn't mean any disrespect, right? Of course you didn't. Now, answer my question, human. Where did you find our book?
A second-hand bookstore. That's unusual. Unless, sister, do you remember the last human that summoned us?
I believe I do. The writer, right? The one with the sharp tongue. Who would have thought the bookstore she built would still be around today?
Well, it helps that you and I contributed to the creation. A touch of demonic influence goes a long way.
True. Perhaps. She put it up for sale, and no one bought it until now.
The details don't matter, I suppose. No matter how it ended up on her shelves, this little human found it, and thought performing the ritual would be a good idea.
Indeed. Well, human, since you were so kind as to answer my question, I suppose it's only fair I answer yours. Over the years, the two of us have gone by many different names.
The brother.
The sister.
Heart taker. Mind breaker.
The red-eyed cat. The blue-eyed snake.
And plenty more that we could name if we had the time and want to do so.
But the name that suits us best, I think, and the name that will be easiest for you to remember is the Twins.
You may call us whichever of those you please. Now that that's out of the way, we should get started, shouldn't we?
Indeed. Tell me, human, just how closely did you read that summoning book?
Of course. Humans always read up the ritual and never passed it. You see the words loyal servants and indescribable power, and everything else is just in one ear and out the other. How predictably annoying.
Easy, brother. No need to get heated just yet. After all, it isn't going to change what comes next.
What does she mean? You didn't really think it would be that easy, did you? Draw some symbols and say some words. Offer a bowl of goat's blood, and just like that, you have 2 demons bound to your will. No, there's one thing you have to do first.
It's nothing much, I assure you. We have a game we'd like to play. A silly little game. One I'm sure you've played before. Hide and seek.
You have 2 hours at most until sunrise. All you have to do is hide until then, and you've won the game.
If you win, then we'll both tell you our names. Our true names. If you know those, we'll be yours to command. Power, riches, knowledge greater than any mortal has ever possessed. Anything and everything you could ever want will be right at your fingertips.
But if one of us finds you before the sun comes up, then you belong to whichever one it is. Ours to use however we see fit. We have a lot of free time on our hands, you see. We aren't exactly summoned often. So when we aren't engaged in summoning, we either wander this plane for our own pleasure, or we retire to our own little corner of hell. For the former, it's always useful to have a native handy, and for the latter, well, we do get tense sometimes. We like having someone to our beck and call.
No need to look so scared. It wouldn't be so bad once we've punished you for summoning us in a place like this. We've gotten plenty of practice over the years, so we know how much a human can take before they break. Besides, it's the same fate you want to condemn us to. So isn't it only fair you put your own freedom on the line?
You don't want to play. You summoned us, so you have to abide by the rules of the ritual, unless you'd rather give up right now. It would save us the time, true, but the game is half the fun. We'd be ever so bored if we didn't get to play. We'd have to find some other way to have you amuse us.
That's more like it. Remember, you have to stay hidden until the sun comes up. You have, about 5 minutes. You'd better go and hide, human. I must say, you are quite good at this game. I know you're somewhere in this room, but I can't put my finger on where. Maybe all that incense you lit earlier served a purpose after all. It certainly makes it harder to think clearly. Since you've impressed me, I'm going to give you a bit of advice. It would be better if you just gave up right now and came to me before my brother got his hands around that darling little neck of yours. You still won't come out? I'm trying to help you. Trust me, I don't do that much. You just happen to spark my interest. It'd be a pity to see you broken. As you might remember, my brother and I have gone by many names. Another one of his names is Silvertongue. He's skilled in telling humans exactly what they want to hear, or terrifying them with what they don't. I've seen him drive mortals to their knees with just a few words, whether in despair or other reasons. Does that thought frighten you? I swear, I can hear your heart beating faster. In fact, it sounds like it's coming from right over. Not here either. You are good at this. Anyways, my point was, if my brother finds you first, you wouldn't stand a chance. He'd warp your mind with such pretty words that you'd do anything for him, no matter how cruel or twisted. You'd never listen to a word that didn't come from his mouth. And if you displeased him, the guilt he could stir in you would leave you wishing for death. You'd be nothing more than a broken doll. You'd be better off serving me instead. I know I said earlier I'd punish you, but I promised after that we could start over. Humans live such short, empty lives. Serving me could give you purpose, and I can make your wildest dreams come true, if you pleased me. Darling, don't be stubborn. Do you think you can hide from us until sunrise? We've played this game more times than can possibly count, against humans much stronger and smarter than you. Of course, 1 or 2 managed to beat us. But do you want to take that chance? Fine. Don't say I didn't warn you. If I find you before the evening's out, I'm going to make sure you regret not taking this offer.
You know what I love about hide and seek? When it's just one person hiding like this, you can't tell whether I'm looking or if I've already found you. Maybe I know exactly where you are and I'm just toying with you. It must be torture not knowing. Wouldn't it be so much easier to just come out and get this over with? Most humans would have at least stuck their head out at that. Either you got a strong will, or you've been talking to my sister. She does love to spoil my fun. I'm sure she told you how much better off you'd be serving her. I can assure you right now the things I'm capable of pale in comparison to her brand of fun. Do you know that one of her names is Dreamwalker? She can do plenty to a person when they're awake, of course, but once they fall asleep, she'll creep into their minds like fog. Their hopes, their dreams, their memories and regrets, and all the filthiest desires of their hearts. They're like an open book, and once she knows them, she can turn them into whatever kind of dream she wants that human to have, good or bad. I've seen her drive humans that displeased to madness, too terrified to close their eyes for fear of the nightmares she'll give them. Understandable, but still foolish on their part. They have to sleep eventually, and waiting only makes her more eager to toy with them. And even if you manage to keep her happy, that doesn't mean she'd leave you alone. She'll take any fantasy and twist it into something perverse and dark, and give it to you again and again, until you crave it more than anything. You'd be a broken mess, an addict craving a drug that she'd give or withhold at her leisure. It would be much simpler for you to serve me, I promise. You wouldn't be getting much sleep, true, but the sleep you did get would be restful and free from her influence. The only thing I'd ask for is your loyalty. If you summoned us, you clearly have no qualms about what becomes of your soul. Serving me would be liberating compared to short, sinless life on Earth. Come on, dearest. I understand you might be scared, but you have nothing to fear. No matter what I'd have you do, I'd always be right at your side to guide you. And I promise, at the start at least, I'd be gentle. Still holding out then? Very well. Hopefully it pays off for you, for your sake. I see you had just as little luck as I did, sister. Such a small church, and yet I couldn't find a trace.
Indeed. What a crafty human to summon us. I suppose they won't be the worst human we've served.
No need to be such a pessimist. You can come out now, human. You've hidden from us long enough. Come out and collect your prize.
That's where you were. I never would have guessed you could fit. Quite the contortionist you are.
Indeed. It's nice to know that the human we'll be spending so much time with is so flexible. You seem happy to see us. Excited for what your future has in store.
I think they are. What an eager little thing. But before we get started, anything you'd like to tell them, brother?
Yes, I suppose I should. Look out the window, pet.
It's still dark out. I did tell you to be careful of what my brother says. He didn't even lie this time. He never said the sun had risen. Perhaps I was too quick to call you crafty, falling for such a simple trick. How embarrassing.
Please spare us the arguing. There were no rules in the ritual about lying, and it was such an easily avoided one too. Demons don't like sore losers, you know. Try and be dignified about it.
No running, pet. The summoning ritual had very clear outlines. Even if you were to escape us, your soul would stand out like a beacon. There's nowhere on this plane, or any other, where we couldn't find you.
Now, the rules were, whichever one of us saw you first would have you. But we both saw you at the same time. So I suppose there's no getting around it.
Indeed. I know how you love devoted pets, brother. But try and leave some of them for me, please.
Of course, sister. I know I couldn't keep you from their dreams anyway.
You know me so well. I promise I'll leave them coherent enough for you. Just barely.
What are we talking about? Isn't it obvious, pet? Since we both saw you at the same time.
You belong to both of us now.